Hello everyone, I'm Jennifer. Today we are going to talk about sending samples. The foreign customer may ask for product samples before placing a confirmed order or in the fulfillment of a contract as agreed. So, it is essential that the samples are made from good quality raw materials. After getting an order, the subsequent goods are made with the same quality product. Meanwhile, the making of samples would arise cost. So, it is necessary to make sure who bears the cost. Besides the cost of making samples, there's also the charges of freight. While sending a product sample to an importer, it is always advised to send samples by air mail to avoid undue delay. However, if the time is not an issue, then the product sample can also be exported through proper postal channel, which is cheaper than by the air mail. For the freight of sending samples, there are two ways: freight prepaid and freight to collect. Now let's look at today's learning objectives. First is the introduction of types of samples. It will include the general types of sample and the specific samples used in textile industry. Second is the skills to draft a letter of notifying sending samples. It will include the structure and content of the letter or email. Now come to the introduction of types of sample. There are many types of samples. Here we will talk about some common samples. Sales sample, 宣传样 Proto sample, 手样 Reference sample, 参考样 Test sample, 测试样 Modified sample, 修改样 Approval sample, 确认样 Deal sample, 成交样 Pre-production sample, 产前样 Production sample, 生产样 Bulk production sample, 出货样也叫大货样 Shipping sample, 船样 Besides the above-mentioned samples, we know different business lines have their specific sample classification. Let's take the textile industry as an example. It has pattern sample, 款式样 Salesman sample, 广告样 or sales sample Size set sample, 骑色骑马样 Washed sample, 水洗样 Production or shipping sample, 船样 Lab dip, 色样 Embroidery sample, 绣花样 or printed sample, 印花样 Accessory material sample, 辅料样 Now come to the skills to draft a letter or email of sending samples. After the exporter gets the sample ready, he or she will choose the proper express to deliver the sample and inform the importer. One of the efficient ways to notify the importer is to draft a correspondence to the other party, which we can email or fax. Before you write it, you should consider the following questions. Which kind of sample is it? Who is in charge of the cost of making samples? Who pays the freight of express? Now let's look at the basic structure of the letter. If we are the seller, we should adopt the following structures. First is the opening sentence, confirming the receipt of the correspondence by the importer. Then inform the importer the information of parcel posting, including the freight, the account number, and so on. Third, providing some other information like pro forma invoice. And the last is ending. Now we will explain it one by one. The letter should begin in the first paragraph by telling the other party his writing purpose. Look at the sample. As requested, we are sending you by courier the samples with freight to collect. We are now airmailing you our samples. Please send us your counter samples so that we can confirm our order with you. Now look at the second paragraph. In the second paragraph, you should give the information of the sample sending. Now look at the sentences. As requested, we are sending you by courier the samples with freight to collect. We are now airmailing you our samples. Please send us your counter samples so that we can confirm our order with you. In the third paragraph, you can provide information of pro forma invoice and some other information if there is. Enclosed, please find our pro forma invoice number 204002. We are sending you our pro forma invoice in triplicate at your request. As requested in your email of March 23, we are sending you here the required pro forma invoice in duplicate. Please note that our offer remains valid until March 29. Our account number is 2003-0309-01-02036985. In the final paragraph, we can close the ending by expressing wishes for response. For example, if you are in the negotiation, you can write, "We look forward to receiving your order at an early time." If you are in the contract fulfillment, you can write, "We look forward to receiving your permission as soon as possible." Finally, let's look at the sample letter.
Dear Mr. Johnson, thank you for your email of March 13th. As requested, we are sending you by courier the samples with freight to collect. Our AC no is 200-303090102036985. As for our pro forma invoice number 3,004,002, please see the attachment. Please confirm after receipt of the samples and send us your reply as soon as possible. Truly yours, Vivian Chen.
There, you can see the first paragraph confirming the receipt of the email of the importer. The second paragraph lists the information of sending samples. The third paragraph is to provide the other information. Finally, they end the letter by indicating the early reply. Well, today we've learned the types of samples and the skills to draft a letter of sending samples. After you send your samples to the customers, you should keep records of them. Keep track whether the importers have received the samples or not, and whether they are satisfied with the samples, which are very important. We couldn't forget. Okay, so much for today. Thank you for watching. See you next time.